let's start the show. Hey there, got a brief question for you. As a kid, do you remember what you wanted to be when you grew up? Did you want to be a firefighter? A superhero? An astronaut? You see, when I was a kid, I wanted to be a professional wrestler. My passion had begun on October 12, 1998, when my father, a computer programmer, helped out a friend who needed tech support. With nothing to do but to switch on the TV, I was A, shocked to discover my dad's friend actually had cable, and B, was shocked to see a bald-headed, foul-mouthed Texan driving a cement truck and filling up his boss's Corvette with said cement. At the time, all I could muster was, he's going to be in so much trouble. But little did I know that it was going to spark a love affair with the squared circle. Now, I'm not a wrestler. My upbringing would never allow me the opportunity to pursue such endeavors. It also didn't help when we lost Eddie Guerrero on November 13, 2005. Not to mention June 25, 2007, with the tragic murder-suicide of the Benoit family adding to the fray. It was just too much too soon, and as a result of it, my passion was forced to switch to become one for music and journalism. When retail powerhouse HMV started closing up Ontario locations in 2017, I essentially started scavenging the anime sections, hoping to find something to review on the cheap. What I stumbled across was a box set for an anime about women's wrestling called Wanna Be the Strongest in the World. Upon glancing at the athletic, scantily clad anime girls on the cover, I became incredibly embarrassed, put the video back in its place, and after 3 days of trying to psych myself up, I ran back and bought it. The things I do for you people. Don't judge me. Here's my review of Wanna Be the Strongest in the World. Sekai de Ichiban Suyoku Naratai nailed it! Is the story of Sakura Hagiwara, the main center vocalist in an idol group called Sweet Diva. One day, Sakura and her friend/rival, Elena Miyazawa, are scheduled to conduct a promotional spot at Berserk Gym, which is dedicated to female wrestling. Through Elena's dicking around, they manage to piss off Berserk's veteran wrestler, Ryo Kazuma. Ryo challenges Elena to spar, and after promptly squashing Elena, Ryo begins to insult idols in general. This ignites a fire under Sakura and causes her to challenge Ryo to a match, caballera contra caballera, and promptly gets the ever-loving crap knocked out of her. Damaged, defeated, and now with the added shame of having her long raven haircut, Sakura makes a vow to not rest until she's able to avenge idols everywhere and defeat Ryo in a grudge match. I'm not gonna lie, this show really pumped me up. Immediately after the second episode, I started thoroughly working out. If it wasn't for the fact that there's snow currently on the ground, I would have gone running. That being said, there are a lot of things that drag the show down, and I will get into it. But first, Wanna Be the Strongest in the World is based off the 2011 manga of the same name. It was published under Earthstar Entertainment and concluded on December 2013 after 5 volumes. The original writer uses an alias called ESE, or SA, I don't know. As such, I wasn't able to learn more about their work besides another manga that no one really has any information on. The manga was illustrated by Natsuki Kiyohito, who draws erotic doujinshi. Yeah, that kinda surprised me too. Normally the backstories of these artists have a little more under their belt, you know? The manga was promptly picked up by Studio Arms, where it was directed by Rion Kujo and written by Kazuho Hyodo. Out of everyone involved in this review, I've only found pictures of Hyodo because of his work with Xenoblade Chronicles. Seriously, it's easier finding people in the witness protection program than finding photos of some of the guys I've had to research this season. Sakura Hagiwara is an incredibly strong-willed protagonist. At the age of 17, she worked hard to make it to center vocalist, and the moment someone tells her that she can't do something, she wants to do her best to prove them wrong. I immediately warmed up to her as I also share that same style of work ethic. She's essentially the perfect baby-faced protagonist who's in way over her head for this story. Sakura's starting antagonistic heel is Ryo Kazuma, and she's f***ing fantastic. I'm serious when I say she's my favorite character in the entire series. Strong, confident, and not taking shit from anyone who insults her craft. Ryo is a breath of fresh air whenever she's on screen, and to be honest, her grudge match against Sakura is kinda justified. Yeah, I apparently like tomboyish bad girls. Who knew, right? As someone who followed wrestling for as long as I have, the physical demands and training are insane. Some of the schools I did research on for this review have purposefully injured their students in order to see how they would cope with having to continue a match while injured. To have a pop idol like Elena waltz into the gym you train in and then insult something you've dedicated years of your life and risked your physical health to do, I would be just as pissed. Elena Miyazawa is brash and naive, but she does eventually learn from her mistakes and become sympathetic and likable. She feels guilty about making Sakura go through hell for her sake, and at the end of the day, she just wants to have her friend and rival back. One of the scenes that took me completely by surprise was Elena finally getting to become center vocalist for Sweet Diva, but hating the fact that she didn't earn it since Sakura had to take a hiatus. See that, everybody? That's good character growth, and I applaud it. The art quality of Wanna Be the Strongest in the World is quite enjoyable. A lot of detail is put into the characters and settings. I really enjoyed how the show used CGI and 3D elements to give the ring a nostalgic wrestling video game vibe. That being said, there are moments when the animation quality dips during the more casual scenes. The most noticeable is being in episode 7 when Sakura is at ringside during Chinatsu's match and her closed mouth outlines are still visible despite the fact that she's talking. The opening and closing themes are pretty decent, but there is an obvious mismatch in quality. The standout is the opening, since both the animation sucks you in and is perfectly paired with Beautiful Dreamer by Kyoko Narumi. The ending theme, Fanfare by Sweet Diva, which is the voice actresses of the idol characters, is comprised of Ayana Taketatsu, Kana Asumi, Yuka Utsubo, Miku Ito, and Sura Amamiya. I get why this ending was made. If your main protagonist is an idol, it kinda would make sense if you have a song to back it up. And why not use it if you went through all that effort just to make it? It's just a shame because Beautiful Dreamer did such a good job setting the tone to the point I wanted the ending to hit that same level of emotional impact. On episode 8, the ending is swapped out with Sorairo Monologue by Kyoko Narumi, and it's a great way to cap off the story arcs that have concluded up to this point. Before I move on, I would like to give a tip of the cap to music director Kaio Konishi, whose brief, arcade-style tracks added a refreshing energy to the scenes. Over on the subs versus dubs category, I really enjoyed the English dubbing in this. The cast did a great job with the material given, and I could tell that they were really having fun at certain points. The standouts of the English dubbing have to go to Lindsay Sidell as Sakura Hagiwara, Martha Harms as Ryo Kazuma, and Monica Rial as Elena Miyazawa. Although, full disclosure, I am a fan of Monica Rial's work, and even got to meet her at Anime North 2017. She does a really good job playing bratty characters, and I wanted to let you know my obvious bias because I felt it wouldn't be right if I wasn't upfront to my audience. While the English cast primarily did a good job, Didi Arkilla didn't do quite as good a job as Yuho Mochizuki. I don't know what was going on, but almost all of her delivery felt flat, which is very unfortunate. It's not awful, but I like to believe that she's capable of better. Now, the Japanese voice acting isn't half bad either, to be honest. I primarily prefer the English because the Japanese makes Elena and Sakura a little too squeaky clean. They walked into a gym and disrespected those who train there. Their hearts are in the right place, but to essentially disrespect a dojo and then challenge a veteran with no in-ring experience shows that they aren't the sharpest singers in the recording studio. Wanna Be the Strongest in the World has a lot of things working against it. You can make the argument that what I'm going to be critiquing is essentially what's tied to its origin, however it's still perfectly valid. While I admit that the manga was illustrated by someone who does erotic works, I feel like the amount of ecchi and fan service really hurts it. The presentation of the show is strong, showing characters with clear motivations and ambitions for getting in the ring. When you overly sexualize something without meaning, it can hurt any type of point or message you're trying to get across. Much like if you try to drown a meal in hot sauce, you won't be able to taste anything else. I can see that Wanna Be the Strongest in the World has moments of brilliance in it, but the fan service drowns out the validity of the plot. As someone who grew up despising shows like Ultimate Muscle for being insultingly stupid, possessing awful characters, and an even worse plot, Wanna Be the Strongest in the World could have been a way to showcase female wrestling as more than just a sexual power fantasy. Instead of a well-acted and well-written story, fuck it, let's drown that thing in ecchi sauce until we forget that women are more than just objects. This is a really bad creative decision because what could have been a way to showcase legitimacy and pay respect to female wrestling is instead presented in the same sexist gaze that has really been preventing the industry from actually growing for decades. Earlier this season, I reviewed Shimoneta, a boring world where the concept of dirty jokes doesn't exist. Some of you might call me a hypocrite for loving that yet chastising this, so it's important for me to deliver context. Shimoneta is incredibly sexualized, and that was the overall point of the f***ing narrative. Ayame Kaijo and Tanukichi Okuma are on a quest to perv the world up after Japanese society devolved into a generation of kids not understanding procreation. Anything that was obscene was destroyed, and people caught saying obscenities were arrested. The whole purpose of Shimoneta, from a narrative structure, marketing, and conception, is about subverting and dissecting the ecchi hentai genre, in the form of satirizing the very tropes it's relishing in. Wanna Be the Strongest in the World's narrative, characters, and themes put it completely at odds with its presentation, and that is a fucking travesty because all the little nods it does to Japanese wrestling. Sakura goes on a 64-match losing streak feeling completely distraught and almost retires until getting much-needed training and begins her comeback. This is in reference to Japanese wrestling legend Kenta Kobashi, who had debuted with the 63-match losing streak until rebounding and becoming the legendary underdog who echoed the Japanese proverb, fall down 7 times and stand up 8. In the show, Sakura goes through what is called the Hell of 100 Throws. An old-school Japanese wrestling training method involved taking a combined 100 moves from your fellow wrestlers. I don't know if this style of training still exists, but it has been confirmed by more knowledgeable allies and really makes sense considering the Japanese work ethic and dedication to craftsmanship. There's also a small throwaway character who looks an awful lot like Yoshiko Hirano, a popular heel wrestler who I will use in a later explanation in this review. Another little gripe I have is that Sakura really doesn't have a lot of in-ring moves. In a show about wrestling, it is absolutely imperative that you show diversity in the moves presented on camera. Imagine an actual fight where the combatants use the same moves without doing anything to switch things up. Not only would it be boring to see, but fans in the audience would riot. The moves that are called out by the announcers in the show are accurate, but if I were able to list most of them, Sakura uses a suplex, double leg kicks, a German suplex, the Boston Crab, a half crab, the Sakura Special, which is a double leg flip kick to the jaw called the Ice Cream Salt, the Mizuki Special, which is the Cobra Clutch suplex, the Mizuki Special 2.0, which is practically the same thing, but the move isn't really fully shown, so I can't really confirm it, the Northern Lights Bomb, and what appears to be the Phoenix Splash. She doesn't really have much of a moveset, which is unfortunate considering the amount of time setting up crotch shots. So, to those of you who are out of the loop with wrestling, I need to teach you 2 very important terms: kayfabe and shoot. Kayfabe is essentially maintaining the illusion or state of disbelief that scripted events are actually factual. This is used by promoters to maintain rivalries and to hook people in. Shoots are unscripted events that can impact kayfabe. A good example of a shoot was CM Punk's infamous pipe bomb, where he spent the time airing out his real frustrations he's had with the WWE treating him like he's not worth their time. A bad example of a shoot can usually be chalked up to injury, but for this example, I'm going to borrow Yoshiko Hirano again. On February 22nd, 2015, Yoshiko was scheduled to have a title match against Act Yasukawa on World Wonder Ring Stardom. What occurred wasn't a wrestling match. It was an unscripted street fight. Act Yasukawa received a fractured cheek, nasal, and orbital bones. As a result of these injuries, Yasukawa had to retire, while Yoshiko was fired from the promotion for beating the shit out of Yasukawa. Those that use the argument wrestling is fake isn't seeing the full picture here. The narrative is indeed planned in advance, but everything in between is usually improvised on the fly. I treat wrestlers with the same amount of respect as I do fellow musicians. Their job is to entertain a captive audience night after night through sickness and injury while trying not to screw up their set. That being said, Wanna Be the Strongest in the World is completely shoot wrestling, and frankly, I don't really know how you could do a wrestling anime series by completely violating kayfabe. So yeah, everything in the show is treated completely unscripted, and I'm okay with that. Just like Shimoneta, Wanna Be the Strongest in the World isn't long enough, clocking in at 12 episodes, which is criminal. However, unlike Shimoneta, where the main goal was left unresolved and the cast walked away with a small victory, Wanna Be the Strongest in the World ends on a good note, but needs more episodes in between the conclusion just to flesh out the world a little bit more. There just isn't enough to build on the secondary characters to the point where I really didn't get to know them. I want to see more of Kureya Kumiyama, Chinatsu Suzumoto, Moe Fukuoka, and of course more Ryo. I don't have a problem. You have a problem. Urusai! After finishing the 12-episode series, Wanna Be the Strongest in the World continues in the form of 6 OVAs, and I really wish it didn't. The OVAs forgot entirely what the show should have been, but don't take my words for it. Let's get the opinion of Mizuki Toyoda and see how she feels about the OVAs.
This is hardcore wrestling, guys, not softcore porn.
You could have f***ing fooled me, Mizuki! The first 3 OVAs are basically softcore hentai, as it's an excuse to throw in mud wrestling, lotion wrestling, and hot water bath training. Everybody takes off their top, and every day we stray further from Roz Grease's light. I swear, if I ever hear bringing out the big guns one more time, I'm going to just drop off the face of the earth entirely. They'll probably find me 4 months later in Korea strapped to the ceiling by nylon leggings like I was the lewdest piñata they've ever seen. The English voice cast was definitely having fun delivering such goofy lines as, "You're going to get hurt if you don't take this seriously. Remember, the walls and floors of this room are soaked in the blood, sweat, and tears of our past champions." Also mud. Lots of mud. It's just a waste of talent and time is what I'm saying here. The last 3 OVAs are a tag match between Sakura and Mizuki versus Hornet and Digger Yamamoto in a best of 3 falls match. I liked it for what it was, and once again, could have used more of it in the main series. So all in all, Wanna Be the Strongest in the World is a good anime series that could have been great if the production team could have kept it in their f***ing pants. The voice acting is good, the story is interesting, the music is great, but the fan service completely ruins the momentum of the show. If you're interested in Japanese women's professional wrestling, I strongly recommend you watch World of Wonder Ring Stardom. The production value is a little lower budget from what I'm used to, but from the matches that I've watched for this review, these girls have basically got it down to a science. So check them out. I'm SonicMTD, and my finishers are the Hangman's Neckbreaker and the 5-star Frog Splash. Hey there, my name is Matthew Tyler DeLeo, better known as SonicMTD. Thank you so much for catching episode number 10 of Always Rate Reviews, where we covered Wanna Be the Strongest in the World. Little known fact about this video review, for me, the hardest part about it had nothing to do with writing the script or editing the audio or the video portions of it. It all had to deal with doing the research on Acti Yasukawa. Her entire biography reads like a tragedy, and she did not deserve the hand that she was given, especially with that Yoshiko match. But regardless, thank you so much for catching this video. Please be sure to like and subscribe and leave me a comment in the comment section down below. Also, please be sure to take a look at the links on this side of the webpage. Up here is going to be what YouTube recommends that you would watch, and down here is going to be a playlist of my entire series up to this point. If this is your first video, I definitely recommend you check out the other 9 episodes. But either way, I'm not going to take up any more of your time. Arigato gozaimasu, and later days.